or doing research about youth programs. But the focus has not been on youth themselves as a target audience. And that changed in 2018 when Youth Lead was launched at the World Bank's Youth Summit in December. And the focus is on youth themselves, young change makers between the ages of 15 and 35 years old. The vision for Youth Lead is to become the global hub for young change makers age 15 to 35, with the goal of enabling them to maximize their impact through networking, mentoring, and accessing information. And the platform offers a great opportunity for youth from different countries, different networks, to inspire and learn from each other, to connect beyond their traditional circles, and to benefit from many diverse resources and information. And with Google Translate on every page, it is available to a much larger group of youth today. There's a number of activities that are supported under Youth Lead. And so in addition to selecting Youth Lead ambassadors, we are also organizing campaigns. We actually have one going on right now. We're voting for top photos from our photo contest, and that closes today at 12 p.m. DC time. So if you haven't voted yet, please do so on the Facebook page. We are also organizing webinars like today's, led by some ambassadors, some by sponsors. And we have about 20 sponsors who today support the Youth Lead platform. Our sponsors help promote Youth Lead through their youth networks. They also contribute important content through resources. They also offer their expertise and knowledge and organize skill building training webinars for our Youth Lead members. So they're a really important part of the platform. And if you're interested in learning more about how you can be part of the platform and join us as a sponsor, please reach out to our team. We would love to have your support and engagement on the platform. So with that, I'd like to turn to today's webinar and introduce the topic, youth participation in advocating for a gender-equitable world. We are very lucky to be joined by our speaker, Vikrant Pandey from Fight Back Nepal. Vikrant is a social entrepreneur, a thought leader, and a change maker. He started his career in a bank as an IT professional, but left to pursue his passion for being an entrepreneur. And in 2013, Vikrant founded a sexual violence risk reduction education program called Fight Back, which has empowered and educated more than 12,000 women and girls and over 3,000 stakeholders that include men, boys, parents, and teachers. He's been invited to attend and speak in various national and international seminars and panel discussions like SOCAP 18, the Women Deliver Conference 2019, USAID, HCD Workshop, and International Girls' Day Seminar in 2018. We're very pleased to have Vikrant today. And with that, Vikrant, I will turn it over to you.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and I look forward to the presentation. Should I start the presentation? Okay. So the story of Fight Back starts. This is around 2009, 2008. I was working in a bank as an IT professional, and I always wanted to do something in entrepreneurship. And after I left the bank, one of the things that always kind of touched my heart was I wanted to do something on bullying, sexual harassment. It was something that always kind of touched my heart. So that gave me a more urgency when my daughter was born. I've been always a self-defense practitioner all my life, self-defense and martial art practitioner, but I kind of understood its limitation. So the idea Can I switch the slide?
Yes, okay, now you're welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. You were to have been muted earlier.
Okay, so it got muted on its own. So I'll let me just start. So the whole idea was to combine the soft skill side, the education, the awareness side of individual safety with self-defense, the physical techniques. And we started to call it safety skills. And what we believed in is this safety skill is as important as maths, and it has to be a part of the education system. And the other thing that we were kind of aiming was sustainability, because there are a lot of nonprofits in Nepal, but we registered as a private company to sell this service to the market. And the whole idea was to kind of, to cross subsidize in high impact training. So that was what we tried to do. Hello, can you go to the next slide? Yeah. Okay. So the idea was to create an education program where the mental, vocal, and physical skills of an individual would be built to deal with the risk of sexual violence. By mental and vocal skill, what we mean is, as we all know, sexual violence has a spectrum, but the thing is that there's more bias towards the physical, gross kind of actions of, but the subtler safety issues are kind of lost in translation. So we wanted to create a program which would kind of cater the entire spectrum of problem. So by mental and vocal skill, what I mean is risk management skills, understanding the perpetrator's behavior, understanding the body language, the tone of the voice, dealing with your fears, having a correct strategy. For example, if you're going in a bus and somebody tries to kind of somebody tries to harass you, how do you deal with it? Which is a very slow process in a crowded bus. On the vocal side, we focused on assertive communication, on how do you set your boundaries, how do you speak, how do you de-escalate certain situations. And of course, on the physical side, we focused on easy to remember, hard to forget, something that works on self-defense skills. So we combine this and we package this as an education. Okay, so what happened during the start was after we introduced this program, we started to do very small, high impact workshops. And about the class size used to be 20 to 30. And we worked with many organizations. One of the first thing that we did was one of the first challenges that we were given was in June 2013, where we had to train visually impaired women. And it so happened this was done in the first time in the whole of South Asia. And when we did this, we got an involuntary media coverage, local as well as international. And we kind of, got into the radar. And we worked with various organizations, but these were all small, kind of programs where institutions were hiring us, and we were doing the program. This is one of the coverage that New York Times did on the visually impaired training that we did. Next slide. So in around 2016, starting of 2016, we were part of an accelerator program funded by USAID and UKID. So this accelerator was basically, it focused on any enterprise which enhanced learn, earn, or safety skills of adolescent girls in South Asia, and kind of incubated that idea or program and did the capacity building and gave a little bit of seed funding too. We were part of this accelerator program, and our kind of what we introduced was the girls program. We went to schools and started to train girls in mass. So the thing was that before we had the class size was very small, okay, and the impact was considered high. And when we went to Spring Accelerator, the challenge was to create a program where it could scale, and yet the impact would not kind of be lost. So we introduced an en masse program where we went to schools and started to train girls So the first training program was about 1,000 girls, 441 batch, 660 another batch. For that, we had to redesign our whole training program, and this started to be inside Kathmandu, in the private schools. It started to be very famous. Next slide. So one of the other things that we realized was, to solve a problem like sexual violence, it's not just about empowering girls and and not engaging the other stakeholders. We kind of realized that. So part of that was empowering, educating girls, and then engaging the other stakeholders. So we started to introduce parents program. Next slide. Back. You're going back, forward. And teachers program also, because a lot of sexual violence is perpetrated in schools, and we started to teach teachers on what sexual violence is. Next slide. And finally, we introduced the boys program. There were two reasons for it, because we thought that unless we don't reach out and kind of engage the boys, a lot of problems arise from that. So we started to kind of, and the other side to this was boys themselves, they need to be safe. So there was two objectives towards it, on teaching boys how to be safe, and the other side is teaching boys how to respect women and girls. Next slide. So the impact till now is, there's been a huge impact. Can we go to the next slide? I'll take a little bit time on that. So we were evaluated by an international, there was a study done where 1,091 girls, about 500 girls were given the training and 500 girls were not given the training. And it was conducted by Coffee International. And this actually is a pretty extensive study. And if any one of you are interested, I can send you the report, and please let me know. But I'll try to kind of, explain this in one slide. So the main thing was, as you can see, there was increase in their, after 8 months, the girls who undergone the program, 24 hours, it was a 3-day program. What they found out was their self-defense skills increased by 96%. The ability to stay away from dangerous situations was increased by 92%, which was the risk management skill. The increase in self-confidence, this is very important, 88%. Increase ability to escape from possible threats, 92%. Increase in feeling of safety, 92%, and alertness of mind, 92%. So the impact stories that were coming from the study was that girls were being more confident. Not only the impact was in their safety and safety awareness and self-defense skills. Like, for example, girls were having more time to pursue their tuition, because the parents were more confident about them, and they were allowed to go out. Girls were having more time to kind of, to learn extracurricular activities. And there were cases where girls who were being abused by a close relative, they kind of went and they did an intervention. They reported this to their parents, and there was an intervention. So the conclusion of the report was the girls felt more safer. Their knowledge and ability in safety awareness and self-defense had improved. And not only that, their quality of life, it was kind of, they were 14, they did a study where a well-being survey was done. So the girls who did this training, their well-being was increased. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah, okay. So these are the schools that we've worked with, and these are the various schools that we've worked with. And the business model that the way we work is the service contracts that we get from private schools and institutions, corporate as well as NGOs and INGOs. We kind of cross-subsidize it to provide this training to the low income and the vulnerable population, women and girls with disability, women and girls working in high risk occupation. So that's how we function. So these are the various schools that we've worked with. Next slide. We've had the opportunity to share our story in various international forums, which we feel very honored. Of course, Women Deliver Conference was a big thing for us, and the whole story of Fight Back has been taken very positively. Next slide. Okay, we recently had a partnership. We have a partnership with EST Global. It's a US based self-defense organization which does similar trainings in the US, and we have partnered in a technical manner to kind of train the trainers for our team, and learn from them and share our knowledge and skills. Next slide. And in 2019, we were given an innovation award by Grand Challenges Canada to transition this into scale. So what we're trying to do is we are trying to establish this as a legitimate education program where urban schools are kind of, where students from the urban schools are paying for this, and we are cross-subsidizing it in the low-income schools and reaching more out to vulnerable population. We're trying to introduce it in corporate. One of the interesting things that we're trying to do is like there is a ride-sharing a corporate company, and it's like Uber of Nepal, and they're facing their riders and their passengers have the risk of getting sexual harassment. So we're having discussions with them to provide trainings to their riders and to sensitize them. So this is what we're trying to do right now, is we're trying to develop this market and and to scale the program to reach more people. That's what we're trying to do. And we're always very much looking forward for any avenues to expand internationally. So next slide. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I hope I've done it in.
Thank you so much, Vikrant. That was a great presentation, and we really appreciate the work that you're doing, and particularly the way that you're engaging across systems to advance the goals of your organization. With that, we are going to turn it over to our next speaker, Nikita Khanna at Restless Development. And Nikita, we will let you introduce yourself. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Nikita, and I work with Restless Development in India. I'll just give a very brief background about the organization because we have a host of brilliant speakers lined up. So Restless Development is a global agency for youth-led development where we support young people to demand and deliver a just and sustainable world for all. The agency currently works in 10 different countries and India being one of them. As an agency, we strongly believe that the time has come to pass the baton to young people, to not treat young people as beneficiaries, but as equal partners and important stakeholders in decision-making whose voices need to be heard and whose opinions need to be sought. Through our different programs, we continue to support and impart skills to young people to become leaders in their own communities, as those who are redressing injustice, claiming power, and exercising agency through mobilizing communities, improving outcomes, and reshaping societies. All of our programs are tailored to address one or more of 4 key components. That is to provide young people with a sustainable living, to ensure that they are able to realize their sexual rights, to make sure that their voices are heard, and to ensure that they are able to develop their leadership capacities to take action. In case anybody is interested and wants to get more information about our programs and the countries that we are working in, please visit our website for more information on that. And I would also urge everyone to join our Global Youth Collective, which is essentially a consortium of all the young people and different stakeholders out there. So thank you very much. And I'm going to now hand over to my colleague Purvi, who will be now introducing our brilliant speakers for this webinar.
Thank you. We have three very good speakers with us who've been working really strongly in their area of field. So I would first like to introduce Enna Zafar, who's a youth accountability advocate with Restless Development. And she comes from a strong background of volunteering and also starting her own enterprise of supporting rural women to seek employment. And Enna will now talk to us about few cost-effective ways and methods for conducting online and offline campaigns that can be used to advocate effectively for Sustainable Development Goal 5. Enna?
Hi, Purvi. Thanks. Hello, everyone. Thanks for the introduction. And I'm glad to speak here on this platform with you all. So as Purvi told you that I am working with Restless Development as a youth accountability advocate on sexual and reproductive health and rights and SDG 5, that is gender equality. So our focus area is youth, as half of the world population, you all must be knowing, is youth. So when we are talking about any issue, we have to look at it from the point of youth and to reach to them and to reach out to them the maximum. So my point is like how we can use cost-effective methodology for conducting an offline campaign that can be used to advocate effectively for SDG 5 by equipping young leaders with necessary skills and expertise. So as we all know, that technology is at like every aspect and every corner, and we are holding this webinar is the result of the technology with people around Nepal, India, and etc. all around the globe. So coming to the point, I want to talk about how we can use this cost-effective methodology for conducting advocacy and to reach out to the maximum people. I think social media is very important in today's time, and social media campaigns can, by engaging in social media campaigns, we can reach out to most people. Like if I boost one campaign, like by investing little money, like 300 rupees, I can reach out to around 7,000 to 8,000 people. And I have recently started to engage with victims of gendered violence, where we talk and discuss about their stories in a very non-formal setting. Like we sit in a park and something, and we give them a platform where they can share their stories in a very non-threatening way, and try to engage with them and involve more and more women and at times men. So because when they are talking with each other, they are breaking the shackles that they are not alone in their battles, and one-to-one interactions often gives us a chance to engage in rapport formation and provides a confidence to them that it is okay to talk and they are not alone in this. And since Puri explained that I have started engaging in my entrepreneurial thing with engaging with women women who have faced violence and women from the most marginalized community, what I realized was that these people are, at times, the women and the men are often in an abusive relationship and are not moving out of their relationships simply because they are not financially stable. So when I provide them or give them capacity training, like they can stitch or something like that, it gives them a confidence that they are not financially dependent on someone, and they can lead a life on their own. So what I am doing is I am starting this little startup thing through e-commerce. Why I'm talking about is simply because it is the most cost effective thing which I feel that I can reach to maximum people through this e-commerce things. I cannot afford a physical store because it will ask me a good amount of money to invest. But what I can do is I can make pages on social media and give them a boost of like $1 or something, and I can reach out to so many people, and it can provide them with the business. So this is one social media thing. But when we combine it with an offline thing like creating plays, poetry, songs, and stuff like that. So when we combine an offline and an online thing together, the reach we can, the kind of and the amount of people we can reach is, I would say, unimaginable. Like uh, when we are talking about reaching to the youth, we need to engage with the kind of words, with the kind of emotions, with the kind of things they find entertaining. And we can't just direct them that these things are good and these things are bad, because that will give them a very like authoritative look to what you are saying. Your thing might be 100% correct or 90% correct, but saying things in an authoritative way, like this thing is wrong and you have been practicing something wrong, will give like will provoke their defense mechanisms. And by doing that, we won't be able to reach out to the maximum people. What I am trying to say is to engage with youth in the way they like it, like be it in form of songs, poetry, and stuff like that, like creating plays. And when we combine it with online thing, like recording the songs, recording the video, and then using that online platform to promote our offline things, the reach, the cost effectiveness, the kind of message we want to engage with is, the outcome is like literally unimaginable. And I believe that be it gender equality or sexual awareness or sexual and reproductive health and rights, violence, gender violence, the thing with mental illness and mental violence, why it became so prevalent was that people started talking about on social media. And if we can give that support, that okay, you are okay to talk and we are reaching to the maximum people and you are not alone in this fight. We reached out to maximum number of people through social media, through Facebook, through Twitter, through YouTube, and all of that. So I believe that by giving the training to young people, on giving them education and telling them that, see, these by making them aware that these are their rights and they have full right to feel bad, if some to say to feel bad and to say against the injustice if they feel that they are facing anything, like be it physical violence or sexual violence. Many people don't say it because they don't feel that anything wrong is happening with them. But when they feel that they are alone in this, it's not with everyone that is happening. They don't feel, they don't find um, support, I would say. So by creating such awareness programs and making people making people realize that, oh, it's okay to talk, and through songs and poetries. And what we can do is we can make young people, youth, engage with SDG 5 and gender equality, and tell them and impart, give them skill building and capacity building trainings, and teach them how to deal with social media campaigns and all of that. While I was traveling nationwide, what I noticed was there was gender disparities all over the country. It's not about that only a specific country, a specific part of country or a specific country is facing gendered violence and things like that. So when it is happening all over the country, what we need to do is build links and provide them that it is in a different form prevalent somewhere else too. And unless we won't come together, we won't join hands, and we won't be able to, like, we won't be able to battle these patriarchal mindsets and the forces which are stopping us to progress, be it mental progress or physical progress. So I would just like to summarize that my crux point was how we can engage social media, that is an online campaign, with offline campaign, and not take them separately. Like, I want to work at the grassroots level, but I want other people to know that it is not happening with them only, but it is prevalent all over the places in different forms. So we can combine social media like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube with our offline campaigns, like see how we are engaging with so many people, and then we can reach out to most of the people in the most cost effective way. So yeah, that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna, for sharing your experience. So now, like just seeing the lack of time, so I would now request Barsha Chakrabarti, who's with us, and she's really been working over 10 years in the human rights sector. And she's currently working with Breakthrough India on digital. Yeah, so she will, really put a spotlight on how. Am I audible? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so she will put a spotlight on how digital media and tech plays an important role in gathering evidence by sharing her own experience.
Hello, my name is Borsha and I work with Breakthrough. And given the limited time, it's what Anna said. I wanted to connect to her because she raised very important points. Though I work on digital media, but I strongly feel that digital media in isolation cannot work. So digital media can only work, one is in amplification. Second is, yes, what she said, like you can reach out to a lot of people with the issue. You can connect to a lot of people who are interested being part of your issues, but the evidence what we are talking about needs to come from the ground. So if you are doing, if you want to work on like public services, you want to, like, suppose goal 5 is one of the major goal, but again goal 5 cannot work in isolation. So if only working on goal 5 will not reach anywhere. But how it's important to spot gender everywhere, it's very important that that on ground evidence can be built, and that can be amplified through social media. So I'll take one example. Couple of years back, we did a study of public toilets, because that was one of the concerns raised by most of our volunteers, because the students tend to use public toilets more, and then most of the cases it never met like a satisfactory ending. So either it's not there, or whether it's, even if it's there, it's not accessible, or the facilities should be there inside, it was not there. So we decided that let's do a survey in the capital of India, which is Delhi, and understand like what is the status of the survey and what our policy says. So we have a proper guideline. We have something called Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, Swachh Bharat Mission, which talks about sanitation and public toilets and water sanitation stuff. And so we kind of did like a survey according to the guideline to understand whether the existing public toilets meets the guideline or not. So then it's very important that when we are identifying an issue, then it's very important to see that what are the threads linked to the issues. So it's not merely what are the existing policies there, where you want to reach. So if the existing policy is like really good and it takes care of everything, then it merely becomes like whether the existing facilities are meeting those guidelines or not. In the survey, we did a lot of on-ground mobilization where people went and surveyed those toilets, and it was all student volunteers. And also it was very interesting because they themselves went to those toilets, surveyed, so they themselves understood the problem. So it was not somebody I am coming and telling you, this is not right or this is not wrong, but you being there, understanding that, oh, this is the situation and where is the gap and how this is not meeting the guidelines. So it helps you to understand and take this concerns very seriously. And that was one, and they did a wonderful survey. We almost serviced like more than 300 toilets. And then it was there was a data analysis came and everything. And what we did on digital media was, how do we beautify those datas, how do we make it more consumable? So we used cartoons to talk about the problems of public toilets, and how and the entire survey, I forgot to mention, it was from a gender perspective. So how women accessing, or trans women accessing public toilets, or what are the difficulties they're facing in terms of access safety and other availability, access safety. And so in digital media, I'll come back to digital media. So in digital media, what we did, we used different formats. So format like cartoons, which people would like to see. It's not very heavy when you're talking about something like, data and, how severe the conditions are, how safety conditions are, which is a very severe concern. But if the data is presented in a very raw form or like very boring form, obviously people are not going to see it. And digital media, you just scroll things down. So you actually have a very limited span of audience, of consumer, to basically grab your attention. So it says that unless you see something at least 7 times, it doesn't register, because you have like so much of content you're consuming from different diverse content creator. And so one is consumable. Second, it's very interesting that how you can crowdsource content. So suppose you have done a survey, like in our case, we have done a survey, but we called out other places as well with the help of crowdsource materials. A lot of people from different cities or 2-tier cities got in touch with us on social media saying, this is a situation in our city, and this is a situation in, so we should, we started something in our city, and with the help of the available data. So basically you can actually steer a guideline, you can steer basically a perspective among people, how to look at things, and then enable people to mobilize themselves through social media. Now there was one more thing, that how do you basically map accountability? Because online it's the accountability becomes like a larger problem. So if you tag like PM on Twitter, nothing's going to happen. But then how do you basically channelize? So it's important that how do you locate your campaign? So we did that campaign right before there was an election in Delhi, and it was a municipality election who basically takes care of the public toilet. And we kind of tried to capitalize that whole timing of the survey, and reached out to different political parties, reached out to the people, the people who were holding positions like bureaucratic positions, and then got them on board and took them to the toilets. And started having that policy conversation. So it's very important when we are doing a campaign on social media. It's just not merely like sharing content, but the content should have like a specific ask, which will make people want to join your campaign, take interest in the issue you are talking about, and how do you basically make that issue relate. So public toilet was some issue everybody could relate, because everybody used public toilets across the country, and and the situation was like that across the country. It was so and we also got like some very positive examples, so which you can basically state as an example when you're going for policy, any kind of policy change, or you're asking for like, you know, to implement the guidelines properly. Secondly, I totally agree with Anna, you know, for using different formats like songs, you know, and, you know, TikTok in our country is a very quite used platform, but which is not much used for the social causes, or like, you know, to mobilize, because it's seen as like inside isolation, it's like more of an entertainment. But you can actually mobilize a lot of people on Twitter, TikTok. You can use rap songs, which actually talks about your message, but in different formats, and also which connects more people. And it's one, when you're connecting with the consumer, at the same time it goes viral, then you actually create a lot of evidence while you know, interacting with the people, not only stakeholders but other general common citizen who is suffering from the same problem, basically getting all those accounts together, and it helps you to curate like a larger you know, larger voices. And it's very helpful for creating dialogue, and also building advocacy. But then, you know, there are some campaigns, because of fund crunch, because not always you can go on ground and do a survey, it involves some kind of money. But there's a very ongoing campaign. What we are doing is basically asking the central board, or film central board, to get a disclaimer for the films where the violence has been glorified, or the violence on women has been done by the hero. So it started with a very recent film. Last year one film came where the hero, the very masculine hero, is like glorification of violence, slapping hero like people all over, and the film did very, very well in theater. And but that triggered a huge conversation about that, how can you get away with glorification of violence on against women, and that, you know, forms a different kind of a culture. So we started a campaign called Violence is Not Filmy, which is very much online. So we got in touch with one of the campaigning organization in the what do you call it, petitioning organization, change.org, and we started one petition. Then we did a lot of mobilization on Twitter. We got in touch with the key people who are already talking about, you know, how about this issue. Also, you know, tapping people who have been talking, who have been working and got a the High Court judgment in favor of getting a disclaimer for the films. So this was absolutely online mobilization, because we had no fund or no money whatsoever for this, and it picked up really well. And if you can argue your campaign very well, if your demand is very clear, then automatically a lot of people, and it was so organic, and we got retweeted by like some celebrities who support our cause, which we even did not tag them, or we did not even reach them. But as the campaign, the content was interesting and good. And you can check like on our Facebook or Twitter, if you just hashtag violence is not filming, you will see the kind of content we created. And it was not only calling out violence, but what kind of things, what we trying to say, what kind of films we want to see, or how do you you know, I mean, the culture of violence, how do you basically, not even being violent, you can talk about violence of women, you can depict violence in a different way, or you can, you know, it do not need to be glorified or reinforced. So and the campaign is doing pretty well. So, and we are trying to get in touch now, we are trying to get in touch with the CBFC head, and, you know, trying to get this thing done. And we saw a lot of interest also coming from their side, which is absolutely online. But it depends on the kind of campaign you are running. If if it's about like something people are dealing with, like any kind of a public service, or then it's a different format, then you need really strong online on ground connect. But if it's something which is more of like a policy level, which is more of like, you know, things which talks about more norm change and culture change in like at the policy, or you are asking like something very direct from the government to do this, then a lot of time we have seen that how online mobilization works really well. Yeah.
Thank you, Barsha. And thank you for putting, you know, the points around digital evidence and like, you know, how we can use technology in trying to advocate for various causes, not just SDG 5, but various other forms also. So this was something which I feel that young people are really strong in, and also they would have got certain idea as to how they can actually better use the tech and the social media in a better way. Thank you. And unfortunately, we have lost connection with one of our last speaker, Deep Malika. But there's some internet issue that she's facing. But since she's not here, so we'll not be able to continue with her session. But I would just still like to introduce her, the kind of work she does, and hopefully we'll be able to take her on in some other webinar that we host. So Deep Malika has an expansive 25 years of working experience as a gender and life skills trainer, and she works with a local NGO called Action India, and she has also been a lead paralegal in handling cases related to gender-based violence, domestic violence for different communities. And she comes from a very strong background on working on ground and at field level and mapping stakeholders and networks. So unfortunately, she's not here to speak on her experience, but I'm sure we'll be able to, we'll have some other time where we can really hear and understand her experience. So with this, I would like to give the platform back to Nilima.
Thank you, Purvi. It was a very interesting presentation, and we would like to thank all the speakers for sharing such a good story of achievement and impact that you are making in your community through your programs. We have received just 2 questions in the chat box, but perhaps Vikrant and the Restless Development team member can answer to those questions. The first question is from Ruth. Ruth is saying, I work with Abundance Worldwide. Just a second. How do we create and encourage boys to be part of gender education? So perhaps Vikrant, would you like to go first?
Well, thank you for the question. So, I think there are 2 ways. One way is if you are trying to promote it as an enterprise, then I think for us, in case of Fight Back, the way we pitched it to the schools was we kind of focused more on the safety issues of boys and bullying, and kind of introduced the gender dimension during the training. So, that's how we did it for our stakeholder programs with the boys in the school. If you're working with NGOs and government, you can directly say that these are the things that the boys. Basically, the thing is that a lot of boys don't have the skill sets, right? They're not educated, they're not aware about it, and they don't know how to behave. So you got to make the stakeholders realize that this is a skill set that is needed in the 21st century, and this has to be a part of the education system. And if you do it like that, then I think there will be an air for people to listen to you and and do it. That's how we're trying to do it in Nepal.
Thank you, Vikrant. Perhaps Barsha or Anna would like to go next.
On getting men on board, or even I'm struggling with that.
Yeah, can I answer?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Actually, with this question, in this respect, what we did last year, I was a change maker for one of the youth accountability advocate, and our main theme was to engage with adolescent and teenage boys and get them on board with regard to gender sensitivity and sexual education and all of that. Because the thing was that we thought that we cannot go ahead without men on board, because they are a part of this, and they are even victims at times of gender disparities, and gender inequality, and they carry it forward. So what we did was we engaged by with small activities like creating spaces. We showed them movies, and we got to know. We engaged in dialogues with them that what they think of a particular woman, and we engaged in activities like giving them chart papers and asking from them that how do you recognize a female and their body parts. And when some bad words, like we were engaging with boys from uh, slum areas and slum communities. So they use certain bad words, and when we ask them, when we cross question them in a friendly manner, that why do you think this is a problem? So then it was like, okay, why are we saying that? Just because we have heard it from someone and things like that, you know? So it was a very, like, when we were discussing and engaging with boys and with men through activities, through movies, and through asking them that what they think, how they should be, and what they think about their lives and their families and the women of their families and how they should lead. Then we cross question them, engage with them, take them out, show them movies. Then by all of these methods, it was like, I would say that I could see a change in at least 5 boys. And when we are engaging with 15 or 20 boys, I think 5 boys is a good number, that okay, at least we could create a sense of question that okay, men have been holding to certain prejudices, and they have been carrying violence, and they have been themselves being victims of violence. So I would say that engaging with them is very important, and through the kind of activities they are interested in, like through movies, through songs, if you question them, that then they are like, okay, we've never thought in that way. So that was the thing I would suggest, ki what we need to do is to engage with them and not take them in isolation. We need to take them, because men have to be against violence against women, because they themselves face them and they are carriers somewhere in that thing. So if I hope I could answer some parts of the question.
Thank you, Anna. We are running behind the time, but perhaps we received a very important question. So the question is, while we are advocating for gender, how can we ensure inclusion? People with disability is captured well and integrated on gender aspect. So if anyone of you would like to answer?
Yeah, I would like to answer that.
Sure.
Yeah, so it just get people with disability on board. It's very simple. It's nothing complicated. When you are seeing something, a perspective, you will never get a perspective with somebody with a person with disability. The perspective they will bring into your campaign will all obviously lead that conversation ahead. But as a person with no such challenges, we can't ever take those conversations forward. So it's very important the campaign you are running, it's very important to identify who are you running this campaign for and who the people who are leading. So if you're running a campaign for women's rights and men are leading, maybe women's perspective will never come. So it's important to keep people in center and as a lead. It's very simple.
Thank you. Vikrant, would you like to answer that too?
Yeah, so in our case, our whole the Fight Back program was kind of thrust into the forefront because we engaged with individuals with disabilities. So for us, it's one of our core kind of thing, to have that aspect in our program and to be able to cater that service. So that's for me, And for my organization, it's one of the main things that we are doing. So I think it can do wonders. That's what I feel.
Thank you, Vikrant. Thank you to all the speakers. Thank you to Restless Development team and Fight Back Nepal team for your presentation. And we'll be sharing the presentation after the webinar, and we'll also upload the webinar recording on our website on YouthLead platform. If you have not joined youthlead.org, we encourage you to do so. This will enable you to network with other young change makers and join discussion groups. As a member, you can also post content, example, resources, blogs, short videos, events, funding opportunities, and you can join discussions groups as well. You can also post your projects to get more visibility for them. And for every contribution, you earn points and will earn badges based on those points. Every month, members also get the YouthLead newsletter, which highlights young change makers. You can also follow us on social media, Twitter, and Facebook. And above all, reach out to the speakers and continue the discussion about this topic in the YouthLead discussion group. And last but not the least, we thank you for joining us. We hope you'll join the next Facebook Live webinar and also the YouthLead skill building webinars in upcoming days. And as we said in the beginning, the slides and the recording will be made available to all of you on youthlead.org and sent to all the registrants. We hope to see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So much.
Thank you very much.